The Ford Duratorq engine, commonly referred to as Duratorq, is the marketing name of a range of Ford diesel engines first introduced in 2000 for the Ford Mondeo range of cars. The first design, codenamed Puma during its development, replaced the older Endura-D unit which had been around since 1984. Commercial versions of the Puma unit replaced Ford's older York-type unit used in the Transit, and many other manufacturers' vehicles, most notably the London Taxi. Other unrelated units in this range have been developed by Ford and PSA. The Tdci Duratorq engines are available in vehicles from Ford, Jaguar, Land Rover, Volvo and Mazda vehicles. Engine reference, DLD. The inline-4 engines are sold under the Duratorq Tdci name by Ford, and as the HDI by Citroën and Peugeot. These are part of the DLD family. Mazda also uses the DLD engine in the Mazda 2 and the Mazda 3, calling it the MZCD or CITD. The Ford PSA joint venture for the production of the DLD was announced in September, 1998. Officially, there are two families of engines in the range. The 1.4L is generally non-intercooled, the 1.5L derived from the 1.6L, the 1.6L always intercooled. Ford later added their unrelated 1.8L DLD-418 engine to the DLD family, though it is properly part of the Ford Endura engine family. 1.4 Tiger, the Duratorq DLD-414 is a 1.4L inline-4 turbo Euro diesel. Outputs is 50 a kilowatt at 4500 rpm and 160 Nm at 2000 rpm. This engine was developed intra copyright Mary by Peugeot, as described in the joint venture agreement with Ford. This engine is built in France, UK and India. The Divide 4 is available in two versions. One, an 8-valve design, uses a Borg-Warner KP35 turbocharger, but no intercooler. This is the same turbocharger as the Renault K9K diesel. It is Euro 3 compliant, but received a diesel particulate filter in 2006 to make it Euro 4 compliant. A second version uses a DOHC 16-valve design, with an intercooled variable geometry turbocharger. This derivation will no longer be built from 2006, as it will not be able to comply with the Euro 4 regulations. It also uses Delphi Automotive Systems' DCR 1400 Common Rail Injection System. 1.5 In 2012, Ford added the 1.5-liter, closely derived from the 1.6-liter engine. Bore was reduced from 75 to 73.5 Ohm while the stroke remains unchanged 88.3 Ohm. 1.6 Tiger, the DLD-416 is a 1.6L 90 HP or 110 HP version also used by Ford, Mazda, Volvo, Mini, Peugeot and Citroën. This particular engine was designed by Peugeot engineers on behalf of PSA and Ford. Due to high demand, it is currently being produced in both France and England. 1.8 Lynx, the Duratorq DLD-418 is a 1.8L intercooled common rail diesel engine. It is completely unrelated to the 1.4/1.6 units, and is a development of Ford's 1.88V Endura-D engine that saw service through the 1980s and 1990s. However, Ford considers it part of the DLD family, as evidenced by the official DLD name. The Endura-D was heavily revised and updated with a variable vane turbocharger and a Delphi high-pressure common rail injection system and relaunched in 2001 as the Duratorq Tdci, with the original engine being rebadged Duratorq Tdci. ZSD, codenamed Puma during development, these Ford 2.0L, 2.2L, and 2.4L engines are called ZSD. They are produced at the company's Dagenham plant in East London. Note, the 2.5 and 3.0 LW engines in above table are not Puma engines. They are Mazda-designed commercial diesel engines with no commonality to Puma. The W engine family is used in the Asia-Pacific Ranger and Everest models currently running out. 2.0. Released in 2000, to coincide with the launch of the Mk3 Ford Mondeo. The Duratorq ZSD-420 was initially available as a 2.0L direct injection turbo diesel. Producing 115 picoseconds and 280 Nm, it was a vast improvement over the 1.8 Endura-D powering the Mk2 Mondeo. It featured a 16-valve cylinder head with twin-chain-driven camshafts and utilized a variable geometry turbocharger with overboost function. In late 2001 the engine was fitted with Delphi common rail fuel injection and called the Duratorq Tdci, with the original unit being renamed the Duratorq Tdci. Although generally identical to the original engine, the addition of the common rail system meant power was increased to 130 picoseconds, with torque rising to 330 Nm. In 2002 the Duratorq Tdci was replaced by a detuned version of the Duratorq Tdci. Producing 115 PS and 285 Nm, this unit used a fixed geometry turbocharger in place of the variable geometry unit used in the Tdci and 130 PS Tdci. With 2005 came another detuned version of the Tdci for the Mondeo. Producing 90 picoseconds and 280 Nm, this engine was substantially cheaper than other versions and was mainly targeted at fleet buyers. Applications: 2000 Euro 2002 Ford Mondeo 2.0 TD and Tdci, 115 picoseconds and 207 lb/ft. 2001 Euro 2007 Ford Mondeo 2.0 Tdci 130 picoseconds and 244 lb/ft. 2002 Euro 2007 Ford Mondeo 2.0 Tdci 115 picoseconds and 210 lb/ft. 2005 Euro 2007 Ford Mondeo 2.0 Tdci 90 picoseconds and 181 lb/ft. 2003 Euro 2009 Jaguar X-Type 2.0D, 130 picoseconds and 244 lb/ft. DSWDD 2.2. In 2005, Ford introduced the Duratorq ZSD 422, a 2.2L turbo diesel for top-of-the-range versions of the Mondeo and Jaguar X-Type which produced 155 picoseconds. This is unrelated to the PSA DW12 2.2 unit used in Peugeot and Citroën applications. Applications: Ford Transit, 2005 Euro 2007 Ford Mondeo 2.2 Tdci 155 picoseconds and 262 lb/ft. 2005 Euro 2009 Jaguar X-Type, 2011 Land Rover Defender, 2011 Ford Ranger T6 and Mazda BT 52.2 Tdci 110 kW and 375 Nm, 2.4. The 2402cc Duratorq ZSD 424 is a turbocharged and intercooled diesel. Outputs is 75 PS to 137 PS and 185 Nm to 285 Nm. Applications: Ford Transit, 2002 to 2006 LDV Convoy, 2002 London Taxi Tdci, 2007 to 2011 Land Rover Defender, 2.5. Introduced for the Thailand-built 2007 Ford Ranger is a 2.5L diesel engine. This truck is a clone of the Mazda B series and thus the engine is a Mazda engine. It has a bore of 93 mm and a stroke of 92 mm. The engine has no commonality to Ford's Puma engine or VM motory. It is a development of the IDI Mazda 2.2L normally aspirated, later 2.5L NA and turbo and later 2.9L NA, with Bosch common rail direct injection and a variable geometry turbocharger. The WLC engine code is a Mazda engine code, not being changed for use in the Mazda B series clone Ford Ranger. It produces 143 PS at 3500 RPMs and 330 Nm at 1800 RPMs, 3.0. A 3.0L Mazda W engine similar to the 2.5 is also used in the 2007 Ranger as the top of the range. Displacement is increased with a wider bore of 96 mm and longer stroke of 102 mm. It produces 156 PS at 3200 RPMs and 380 Nm at 1800 RPMs. The W engine family remains a Mazda engine and has no commonality to Puma. 3.2, it is an i5 engine used in the Ford Transit and the Ford Ranger. The engine is rated 200 PS and 470 Nm. For the North American spec Transit, the 3.2L Duratorq is modified to meet American and Canadian emissions standards and is branded as a power stroke engine. 2005 Tdci. Continuing the Ford PSA diesel engine joint venture, these straight 4 engines are again sold under the Duratorq Tdci name by Ford, and as the HDI by Citroën and Peugeot. A development of the existing DW10/DW12 engine, the new engines have a traditional belt-driven system, moving away from the chain-driven camshafts of the previous generation Tdci engines. Both engines utilize common rail diesel technology and are the result of the fourth phase of the cooperation between PSA and Ford. Both engines utilize all-new, third-generation common rail injection systems. The 2.0 engines utilizing a system from Siemens and the 2.2 a system from Bosch. In both systems the injection pressure has been increased to 1800 bar. This higher injection pressure, associated with new piezoelectric injectors in which each nozzle is equipped with 7 apertures, allows the number of injections to be multiplied and ensures meticulous uniformity of the diesel injection spray pattern. As a result of this optimized air-diesel mix, combustion is more complete and more uniform, and therefore reduces emissions at source. 2.0, based on the PSA DW10 engine and with a capacity of 1997 cc's, this engine was developed by Peugeot engineers in France on behalf of both PSA and Ford Motor Company. Production is currently taking place in France and SCAR Paragraph VDE in Sweden. The engine was released to Ford models in 2005 Ford Focus, and followed in the 2007 Mk4 Mondeo. It features a 16-valve cylinder head with twin belt-driven camshafts and utilizes a variable geometry turbocharger with overboost function. An intercooler is always present, as opposed to some applications of its predecessor. In the 2005 Focus, outputs is a respectable 136 PS. In the 2007 Mondeo it is offered with 130 PS or 140 PS, mated to a manual or 6-speed Durashift automatic gearbox. In early 2010 this 2.0 unit was updated, as well as the existing 138 bhp version, a new 163 bhp with 340 Nm of torque was added to the range. Applications: 2003 Euro present Ford Focus E-Max 2.0 Tdci, 136 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2005 Euro present Ford Focus 2.0 Tdci, 136 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2006 Euro present Ford S-Max 2.0 Tdci, 130 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2006 Euro present Ford S-Max 2.0 Tdci, 140 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2006 Euro present Ford Galaxy 2.0 Tdci, 130 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2006 Euro present Ford Galaxy 2.0 Tdci, 140 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2007 Euro present Ford Mondeo 2.0 Tdci, 140 PS and 248 lb-ft. 2007 Euro present Ford Mondeo 2.0 Tdci, 160 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2008 Euro present Ford Kuga 2.0 Tdci, 136 PS and 236 lb-ft. 2008 Euro present Ford Kuga 2.0 Tdci, 163 PS and 251 lb-ft. Other applications: 2004 Euro 2007 Peugeot 307 2.0 HDI, 136 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2005 Euro present Peugeot 407 2.0 HDI, 136 PS and 251 lb-ft. 2005 a Euro present Peugeot 607 2.0 HDI, 136 a PS and 251 a lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Peugeot 807 2.0 HDI, 136 a PS and 251 a lb-AFT, 2008 a Euro present Peugeot 300A 2.0 HDI, 136 a PS and 251 a lb-AFT, 2011 a Euro present Peugeot 500A 2.0 HDI, 165 a PS and 251 a lb-AFT, 2004 a Euro 2010 Volvo C30S 40 per volt 52.0D, 136 a PS and 251 a lb-AFT, 2007 a Euro 2010 Volvo S80 per volt 72.0D, 136 a PS and 251 a lb-AFT. 2.2, based on the PSA DW12 engine and with a capacity of 2179 cc's, this engine was released in April 2008 by Ford in the Mk4 Mondeo, soon following in the Ford S-Max and Ford Galaxy. It has been engineered by Ford in England, as described in the fourth phase of the joint venture agreement with PSA. Dagenham is the place of manufacture. It features a 16-valve cylinder head with twin belt-driven camshafts and utilizes a variable geometry turbocharger with overboost function, rather than the twin-turbo approach of Peugeot and Citroën. The result is a very respectable 175 picoseconds complete with 295 lb-AFT of torque, although 310 lb-AFT is temporarily available thanks to the transient overboost function. In 2010 Ford and PSA revised the engine with a new turbocharger and a new power output of 200 PS with a torque of 420 Nm and even 450 Nm at overboost conditions while the emissions are at Euro 5 level. Applications: 2008 a Euro 2010 Ford Mondeo 2.2 Tdci, 175 PS and 295 lb-AFT. 2008 a Euro present Ford S-Max 2.2 Tdci, 175 PS and 295 lb-AFT, 2008 a Euro present Ford Galaxy 2.2 Tdci, 175 PS and 295 lb-AFT, 2010 a Euro present Ford Mondeo 2.2 Tdci, 200 PS and 420 Nm. Other applications: 2011 a Euro present Range Rover Evoque 2.2 ED4, 150 PS and 295 lb-AFT, 2011 a Euro present Range Rover Evoque 2.2 SD4, 190 PS and 317 lb-AFT, 2011 a Euro present Land Rover Freelander 2.2 ED4, 150 PS and 295 lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Land Rover Freelander 2.2 TD4, 160 PS and 295 lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Land Rover Freelander 2.2 SD4, 190 PS and 317 lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Citroën NC5 2.2 HDI, 172 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Citroën NC6 2.2 HDI, 172 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Citroën NC8 2.2 HDI, 172 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Citroën NC Crosser 2.2 HDI, 160 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2006 a Euro present Fiat Ulysse 2.2D Multijet, 172 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2007 a Euro present Peugeot 407 2.2 HDI, 172 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2007 a Euro present Peugeot 607 2.2 HDI, 172 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2007 a Euro present Peugeot 807 2.2 HDI, 172 PS and 277 lb-AFT, 2007 a Euro present Peugeot 4007 2.2 HDI, 160 PS and 277 lb-AFT, V6, AJD V6/DT17. The 2.7L V6 is built by Ford and Jaguar cars at their Dagenham facility, and was designed by Ford engineers at their Dunton and Whitley product development centres. It is called AJD V6 by Jaguar and DT17 by PSA Peugeot Citroën. Ford and PSA extended their diesel engine joint venture in October 1999 to include this V6 engine. Applications: 2006 a Euro present Citroën C6 2.7 V6 HDI, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2008 a Euro present Citroën C5 2.7 V6 HDI, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2004 a Euro 2008 Jaguar S-Type 2.7 DV6, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2005 a Euro present Jaguar XJT DVI 2.7, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2008 a Euro present Jaguar XF 2.7D, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2005 a Euro present Land Rover Discovery TDV6, 190 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2006 a Euro present Land Rover Range Rover Sport TDV6, 190 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2005 a Euro present Peugeot 407 Coupe Copyright 2.7 V6 HDI, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2004 a Euro 2010 Peugeot 407 Touring 2.7 V6 HDI, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2005 a Euro 2011 Peugeot 607 2.7 V6 HDI, 204 PS and 325 lb-AFT. 2011 a Euro present Ford Territory 2.7 V6 TCDI, 190 PS and 325 lb-AFT, V8, AJD V8. The 3.6L V8 is built at Dagenham engine. It is a twin-turbocharged diesel V8 producing 270 PS and 640 Nm. Production began in April 2006. It is very closely related to the 2.7L V6 version and was designed at Ford's Dagenham Diesel Centre product development site, with input from Land Rover powertrain team. Applications: 2007 Land Rover Range Rover, 2007 Land Rover Range Rover Sport. See also, List of Ford engines, references.